So we got some breaking news coming out here. According to Vincent Bonsignore, the Las Vegas Raiders might actually end up trading Davante Adams. Apparently, they've been reaching out to teams, and this isn't one of those, random rumors that people are starting, PFF or Pro Football Talk or whatever it is. This isn't one of those random rumors. This is an actual Raiders insider putting this out there. And Vincent Bonsignore does not put things out unless he is actually being told that, hey, this is information you can put out. Vincent Bonsignore is a very, very reliable source. In the past, if you guys have followed the Raiders long enough and pay close attention to the reports, Vinny is one of those guys that actually has inside information. When the Raiders want to put things out, Mark Davis or the general manager or whoever it is, Vinny's their go-to guy. So Vincent Bonsignore put a tweet out saying, a league source with knowledge of the situation confirmed that the Raiders are growing open to the idea of trading Davante Adams. The source said the club has begun reaching out to teams to gauge interest in the veteran wide receiver. To me, this is massive, massive, massive news because this is not the first legit thing that we're hearing. Because if you guys have paid attention for the past 2 days, we've actually gotten a couple of different things that have come out. Yesterday, we actually got a tweet that was liked by Antonio Pierce. And I know it's, you really want to trust tweets and those type of things. And I get that. But Sports Illustrated actually put out a tweet of a report by this guy named Michael Fabiano. Fabiano says, don't be surprised if Davante Adams has already played his last career snap with the Raiders. Antonio Pierce liked this tweet. And you guys might say, okay, so Antonio Pierce likes a random tweet. Why would that matter? It wouldn't genuinely matter, but the fact that this happened yesterday and then Davante Adams was asked about it today, watch what Davante Adams had to say about this.
Definitely can't make any promises.
So this big story happens where they think your coach, or your coach did, I actually don't know, likes this post about you getting traded. When you heard of that, I guess my first question is, how soon did you hear from coach?
Yeah, I haven't heard from him. I haven't talked to him. So I haven't, I don't know. I don't really know exactly what that was about. Obviously, I got, social media is a beast, so it's a lot of people out there that saw it and wondering what's going on and people reaching out. And I haven't spoke to him.
Well, I'm surprised by that. I would think he'd hate. That's okay. Well, I would think he'd. I mean, you work together every day, so if that, I would say,
Right.
oh shoot, I accidentally hit that. I unliked it. Now it's this huge story. Is that just kind of like what the dynamic is? That's not something that you want to hear from him?
Honestly, it's hard to comment on. And
Okay.
I'm sure you would imagine as such, but it's one of those situations where I just keep my head down and keep doing my thing, and let the chips fall where they may, as it pertains to that. But I haven't. There's been no communication with anybody from the team since that became a thing. But it's kind of just like the weekly "What's up with Tay" thing. It's always some sort of drama. But at the end of the day, 1-7 doesn't create any of it. So people can say what they want, but I'm just chilling, trying to be the model for, not stirring the pot and just locking in and doing what I got.
Now, to me, I know some people are going to say, hey, you're fishing. It might not actually be true. These rumors, these reports could, obviously just be false. But, when Davante Adams last week got hurt, a lot of people kind of felt weird. Hey, how did this guy just, pull a hamstring or whatever, and out of nowhere, he's hurt, right? Like, he's perfectly fine up until that Thursday practice of last week. What's interesting is, Jack Jones got benched coming into that game, and Jack Jones had a really, really bad game. And Davante Adams was another guy that, you could just tell, like, this guy from a blocking standpoint didn't look good. He had some drops as well. And some people are saying, hey, there's a chance that Antonio Pierce actually called out Davante Adams. And there's a chance that Davante Adams didn't respond well to that. And now there's a chance that Davante Adams could actually be traded. And we're getting all these different things coming out, right? Antonio Pierce likes a tweet from a report that someone else puts out there. Then Davante Adams gets asked about that this morning, and he's saying that he hasn't even heard from Antonio Pierce. He was obviously, putting his own opinion on it as well. Davante Adams is a troll, though. That is one thing we do have to keep in mind. But the report from Vince Bonsignore really puts it together for me, right? I know some people might not agree with this. Some people might not believe it. To me, Vinny's a very, very solid source, and I think there's a real chance Davante Adams is going to end up getting traded within the next 2 days. I think there's a real chance that this ends up happening. Now, Vincent Bonsignore would not put stuff out if it was not true, right? And to me, that's the thing that really puts all of this together. I don't care if AP likes a tweet. I don't care if Davante Adams says what he ultimately says. But when Vinny puts a tweet out, to me, it means that there's something definitely going on. Now, Adam Schefter, I believe 2 days ago, reported on the Matt McAfee show that the Raiders turned down multiple offers in the summer, essentially right before the actual season begun. The Raiders had turned down multiple offers. What's interesting about that is that was a long time ago, right? The Raiders could have come into this season and thought to themselves, hey, we're going to try to make a push, maybe get these offenses legit. It'll get us over the top. But I think realization has set in for the Raiders that, hey, one, your team's not great. You might not make the playoffs this year. But two, Davante Adams, he's good. He's a good wide receiver. But I think an offense without Davante Adams that still has guys like Brock Bowers, that has guys like Trey Tucker, that has guys like Jacoby Myers, I think that offense can still end up having success without Davante Adams. And Adams could be an asset for the Raiders to ultimately trade. And I think that's just one of those things where the Raiders might feel like, hey, it makes sense to move off of Davante. Also, keep in mind, Davante Adams was brought in from the old regime, not this current regime. Tom Telesco has been known as a guy where he does want wide receivers that are legit. He's willing to pay those guys, right? He paid Keenan Allen, Mike Williams for the longest time. But Tom Telesco's also not the guy that brought in Davante, right? Davante is more so of a piece that if you're ready to win this year, you want him on your roster. And I'm not sure if the Raiders are in that position right now, right? Especially with some of the injuries that have happened. Maxx got hurt. Obviously, that was a big one. Colton is not healthy. He came into the season. That's another big one. Malcolm lost for the year. To me, maybe realization has set in for Tom Telesco and Antonio Pierce. Or maybe it was just Davante Adams didn't respond well. I don't know, right? I don't know at the end of the day. But the fact that Vincent Bonsignore is putting it out there. Also, there's another piece to this that we should talk about, and that's Davante Adams' contract. You cannot overlook the fact that Davante Adams' contract is not a good contract for the Raiders, right? This contract is set up where next year it's going to absolutely impact the Raiders in a negative way. All right, so Davante Adams' cap number next year is $44 million. Now, the Raiders could get out of his contract at the end of this year. We will incur a $15 million dead cap hit. But $44 million next year is a lot of money, as will the $45 million the year after. The Raiders aren't realistically going to pay Davante Adams that type of money. And restructuring him doesn't really do a whole lot. All it does is it just pushes more dead money down the line. Right? Your cap hit might go from 44 to 30 million for Davante, but that 14 million is just going to get pushed into the future, and you already have 15 million you're carrying for Davante. Right? So to me, the Raiders got to figure out how and what to do with Davante Adams. He's 32 years old. He's still a good wide receiver. He'll still be a very, very productive player for a couple more years. I just don't know if for the Raiders it makes sense. Now, one of the things we got to realize is Davante Adams went for a first and a second round pick, right? That's what the Raiders gave up for Davante. We're not going to get that in return. Right? We're not going to get a first. We might not even get a second round pick for Davante Adams at this point. Because Davante Adams, if he is traded, his contract will be void, right? So Davante is not going to get $44 million in 25 and 26. The contract gets void. The Raiders will pick up $15 million in dead cap. We'll ship him off to another team that will essentially have him for 1 year. And then from there, Davante can either become a free agent and go somewhere else, or he can re-sign with whatever team ends up trading for him. So because of that fact right there, the Raiders might not get a lot back for Davante Adams. Of course, we'll see what ends up happening. You never know. Maybe the Jets really, really want Adams, are willing to give a second round pick for him. And maybe another team like the Niners comes in and says, we're really interested as well. And then maybe the Washington Commanders jump in, and maybe you get a bidding war, and then maybe you get a first round pick. But I don't think that's going to actually end up happening. I think it's more so you're going to get like a second or a third round pick for Davante Adams. To me, the age, the expiring contract, we saw Julio Jones not go for much when he was first traded. We saw guys like DeAndre Hopkins a couple years back get traded for not that much. Even A.J. Brown in his absolute prime only went for one first round pick, right? And that was the 16th overall pick as well. So that's not a ton either. And A.J. Brown was in his prime at that time, right? So you got to factor all those different things in. I think the Raiders should move on from Davante Adams if he truly does not want to be here. I'm okay with Davante Adams being with the Raiders long term, but these reports that are coming out from Vincent, the Antonio Pierce tweet or IG post that he liked essentially, right? And then Davante Adams kind of putting it out there that he hasn't heard from AP. You know, it's unfortunate. You know, it is unfortunate that the Raiders are at this point. But again, I think going forward, the Raiders can still have a lot of success without Davante Adams. In fact, I actually think for Gardner Minshew, he may actually end up being better with the offense without Davante. And I know that sounds weird to say, but I felt like one of the things the Raiders offense did this past week that we hadn't done in the first 3 weeks is we didn't spread the ball to our playmakers, right? I think most of us can agree that the Raiders have playmakers, right? The Las Vegas Raiders have guys that can make plays with the football, from Tyreek McAllister to Brock Bowers to Trey Tucker to Jacoby Myers, Michael Mayer, Zamir White, Alexander Madison. We have like 6-7 guys that can make plays with the ball in their hand, but when Davante Adams is out there, you know, 1/4 of all your plays you run are going to go right to Davante Adams. And I know that's a great thing to kind of have out there, but I almost feel like based off of how this offense and the cap dollars that we have invested, the draft capital as well in some of these guys, I think it almost makes sense for the Raiders to try to, you know, spread the ball out and try to get, you know, different guys involved as opposed to saying, hey, Davante Adams, we got to get him 25% of the targets, because I think that puts pressure on a quarterback as well to feed this wide receiver. Some people won't agree with me on that. Some people say you have to have a featured wide receiver. I disagree with it. You know, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes have had so much success without having like a, you know, a featured wide receiver. And they've had great tight ends, right? They've had guys to come in and have success. Josh Allen more recently has got that tight end. But to me, I think the Raiders can have success around an offense built around Brock Bowers. And I think that's how we should actually build. Now, again, I'm not saying 100% trade Davante Adams. But based off the report, if it's facts and the Raiders do want to move off of him, I'm okay with it. I think it makes sense at this point for the Raiders to look forward. Plus, Davante Adams, you know, if he truly doesn't want to be with the Raiders, if he's not truly bought in, I think it makes sense to move off of him and let him go potentially win a championship, right? Go chase a championship, get paid as well, right? I think he'd be a great fit for the Jets. He might even be interested in going to the Chiefs, but I'm not trading him to the Chiefs. I'm the Las Vegas Raiders. It's just not happening. They can offer us 2 first-round picks. I am not giving him the Kansas City Chiefs. But you could put him on the Bills, right? You could make it hard for the Chiefs. Ultimately, you might want to trade him out of the conference as well, right? The 49ers are a team that's you know, absolutely needs some weapons, right? They got a lot of guys that are hurt. I know my Northern California Raider fans aren't going to want to do that, but they're on the other conference. You know, the Rams are another team that could be interested, the Seahawks. So there's teams out there that would want Davante Adams. It's just a matter of if the Raiders can actually move him. So let me know what you guys think, man. It's a crazy report coming out. I hate making videos around rumors, but this one feels a lot more realistic to me, especially since it's coming out from Vincent Bonsignore. So let me know what you guys think. Thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time with another video.